Welcome once again, dear friends. So let's see the reading for this evening. It's from Living Wisely, Living Well for June 6th. Kriyanandaji writes here, remember this always. Your potential for perfection is absolute. To call someone evil is to traduce what he truly is. For all of us in our souls are divine. Flotsam, seen floating down a river, soon drifts out of sight. Similarly, all things move, whether slowly or quickly, toward ultimate bliss. Compare the evil in us to that flotsam. In striving to reach any worthwhile goal, never say, I have failed. Say rather, I haven't yet succeeded. With that attitude, you cannot but succeed in the end. Isn't that wonderful? Think of a giant race. I'm sure many of us who are listening to this this discourse have been through school already. And in school we used to have these athletics and 100-meter races and sometimes a short marathon, cross country for 3 kilometers. Think of a much bigger race. And then much bigger, something which goes into incarnations, millions of incarnations. Now, fortunately, we're not running in all those incarnations, otherwise it would be just unthinkable. But nonetheless, friends, we are going through those incarnations, and that is the journey everybody is on. And but think of it, if at the end of it, it's not about the one person who won, or even the one team. Everybody reaches the goal. You cannot avoid the race. You can sit down. You can go to sleep on the race. Yoganandaji once said to Kriyanandaji, he said, on the spiritual path, actually the question asked to him was, the person, many times doubts come to us, self-doubts, I'm talking about right now, and that somebody had this doubt, sir, what if I fall off the path? After such a long journey, we finally, with clarity, recognize a guru, true teachings, and we come on the path. And I don't know if it was Swamiji, but somebody asked Yogananda, sir, if I fall off the path, what will happen? And Master said, oh, you cannot fall off the path. Everybody is on the spiritual path already. They may not realize it. And he said, from where I see it, some are running towards the final goal, some are walking, some are stationary, and some are even running backwards. He said, but everybody is already on the path. And, we just have to bow down to these great masters, Yoganandaji here, for expressing an invisible reality, but he can see it, of countless souls in this journey in such a simple graphic. We are all on the path, we are all moving. What does this path mean? We are talking of perfection. What does perfection mean? Many people try to attain perfection in their job, in their skill, in their behavior, in their surroundings, perhaps in the architecture of their house, in the kind of car they want, a good laptop, mobile phone, so many things that I want to be perfect. It will increase my efficiency. But where is perfection to be found when things are changing all the time? We are living in a world which, what was perfect or very good, the best yesterday, is relatively good now. What will come tomorrow will be better than what we have on some level today, outwardly. So does it mean that nobody has attained perfection so far? Will never attain? Things will keep evolving? This kind of reasoning is just so dry in its outlook. I think sooner or later, mankind will tire himself out. And one by one, we actually come to the spiritual path, partly out of this anguish, this suffering, shall I say, this knowing that, oh, this is not going to work out. This kind of reasoning is flawed in the very questioning. Perfection is inside. I may not have money. I may have no friends. Maybe nobody understands me. But if I'm happy, maybe I have found the goal of life. And again the question, what is happiness? How can I enhance it more? Does it come from outside? Does it come from inside? Does it come from people? I mean, on one level, things outside everything is God's creation, and it can provide us that happiness. We can get a sense of perfection. But friends, as clearly as the masters have expressed, it's an inside job. You can feel it, you can attain it inside. Once you find it inside, they say you actually understand what's happening outside. Time itself is not at flaw. It's not that people who lived before us were unhappy, or sometimes, as we think, too happy. People say, oh, today only actually I was watching on a WhatsApp group, somebody was posting, in our times. And I was thinking, man, my times, I'm still in my 30s. It's not, we shouldn't be talking like that. It was a college group, I think, that in our times, this is how we used to go to school. This is how what was said. So mankind also has this nostalgia. Oh, perfection was what we lived just 20 years ago. My childhood was the most perfect in the history of mankind and such. But no, that's not the kind of perfection. Actually, the joyful thought is, isn't it wonderful that when man begins to contemplate, infinite people can say, oh yes, perfection is right here. I'm feeling so happy this morning. Or when that true perfection of spiritual perfection, Samadhi, comes, Swami would say that he would see people, Kriyanandaji I'm talking about, he would see people in the streets, laboring through life, diseased in hospitals. He himself spent a lot of time everywhere. And he would say sometimes, he was a keen observer, he could feel, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the best yogi is one who feels the joy and suffering of others as if they were his very own. That is the state of yoga. You perceive, I can feel those things. And one day Kriyanandaji said, when I look at others who are suffering, who are far, who don't know where joy is, it's inside, but people take a long time just to discover that. He said, I always think of how happy they will be when they find the goal. And that, on one level, friends, their thought, our thought, it's the same thing. If you think it for somebody, it's like sometimes I remember when I was a kid and I would not understand mathematics, I would immediately run to my older sister. Please explain this to me. She had refined reasoning, and when she verbalized it, I would understand it. I would say, thank you so much. I understand this. I was not understanding the book language. Similarly, if you have a good thought, if you can verbalize truth for others, if you can explain, if you can pray for them, these are all valid ways in which people remember this truth. Now, Kriyanandaji is saying over here, remember this always. He has begun with that phrase. And so let's take this more seriously than other things, because it reminded me that Patanjali, in his book, Demystifying Patanjali, Swamiji wrote, but in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, one of the ways in which the soul delays its perfection, he says, is by forgetfulness. Also, many spiritual teachers would tell us that's a major hindrance, actually. And why should we be forgetful? Forgetfulness comes when our energy is low. It's like you may forget an important meeting if you sleep too long. So on the spiritual path, we want to be awake and ready, energetic, with a clear consciousness, with a clear mind, with a very clean heart. It's like we are driving, we are on this journey, we are running, and we want to look around, who is my team leader, how am I going, and am I finding the milestones? And when we go in that direction, we do not, stray away from these things. So, first of all, what is perfection? And Kriyanandaji is giving her examples. Remember, friends, in the teachings of all true religions, it has been said, man was made in the image of God. For those of us who practice meditation, it is when we see the 5-pointed star at the spiritual eye, Yogananda said that those 5 points depict, if I were standing and you were to make point those 5 points of my body, it would be my head, my tips of my hands extended this way, and my legs, and those are the 5-pointed star. And Master said, hence, actually this is what the Bible meant when it said man is made in the image of God. We are children of God, not just this physical body. There's energy behind this. We don't see it often. There are thoughts behind that energy. Makes me think, today we're talking of an affirmation. How much energy, power potential must be there in a good thought, because that is preceding energy itself, which lays the foundation for matter. So again, as we hold on to those thoughts, it's like a seed. It may not manifest today. Actually, in the realm of time and space, these things take time. Yoganandaji once was at the desert retreat. Towards the end of his life, he was working on the commentaries and compiling those of the New Testament, the Bhagavad Gita, I think the Rubaiyat too. And he had taken a few monks and close disciples over there, and to give them an opportunity, because he was totally busy in this project, he gave them an opportunity to be around him. And I think Swami used to say that he also enjoyed that. His nature was, at least in this life, was not of a remote hermit yogi. So as Master was working indoors, he told some monks in the backyard of his little house, he said, "Will you please make me a swimming pool here?" And they were very happy. Actually, the story goes, one fellow was not very happy. He thought he had come there to meditate. And he said, "Why are we making a swimming pool in this desert? Pouring concrete all day long? I want to meditate." So anyway, that's a different angle. But let's focus on those who dug the pool. Kriyanandaji was one of them. He said, first of all, we dug and we dug and we dug. And about 16, 18 hours passed by. They poured the cement in the night. It was all very good. And they were very happy. They were not tired. He said, Yoganandaji came out and he said, "My, oh my, that's quite a pit you all dug." And he said, that's how one's spiritual effort should be. Continuously digging without looking to measure. And he said, that is Nishkam Karma. It's like a seed. Our thoughts are like a seed. If the great ones are telling us, we may not realize, perfection in me, child of God, if only you knew my faults. What did Master say to a devotee who was too concerned about his faults? He said, God doesn't mind your faults. He minds only man's indifference. Indifference is like a prolonged sleep. Master would say, I like those who once when I shake them, they wake up and say, "Yes, sir." Versus when you wake them up, they say, "Let me go to sleep. I'm tired." And Master says, "Well, you called me, that's why I came." Now it's like, imagine if we called somebody home and then when they're ringing the doorbell, we say, "Oh, let me sleep." That is indifference. That is not good behavior. That is forgetfulness. You called the person, now you're responsible. So on one level, when we are seeing evil in this world, when we are seeing it in ourselves, what is evil truly? That's a strong word. Fortunately, it doesn't exist, except to the degree Master says you and I give it power. He defined it. Yoganandaji, our Guru, defined evil as the absence of joy. Absence of true joy, he said, is evil. What is joy? It is the definition of God. It's the definition of your soul in this physical body also, friends. And this is one reason why we should always surround ourselves with books about the lives of saints who are in our line, our own masters. That forgetfulness should not come. I wanted to show these books towards the end, but I will show them now. This, of course, autobiography for Yogi, all of you would know. Let's keep it by our bedside and read every day. And this book, Essence of the Bhagavad Gita, when Master was writing this, he said, millions will find God through this commentary on the Gita. Then he told Swami, not just thousands, millions. I can see, I know. So again, that before that, doubt comes. And you know who is helpless? Most of all, we think we are helpless when the doubts come. Of course we are. But God, in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna is describing himself, I am the seasons, I am the sun, I am the Om vibration, I am the manifest, I am Purusha, the unmanifest and such. At one point he says, I am the doubt of the doubters. Why should we doubt? You and I have been given free will. We have to make up our mind. We shouldn't wait for the kicks of suffering to wake us up. And once we have made up our mind, then we say, Lord, why should I doubt? I want to always remain in this memory. And Master said, Let all who come to our teachings and who take Kriya know, who come to our path with sincerity, let them know all of them can become and should try to at least become Jeevan Muktas in this life. Who is a Jeevan Mukta? A saint. He said Ramana Maharshi, Anand Moyi Ma, Trailanga Swami, those great souls about whom we read, they were Jeevan Muktas. Well, but if Master said you and I can become Jeevan Muktas in this life, we should. We should hold everybody in our prayers and go from there. Now coming back to what is perfection? Perfection is smriti, Patanjali said. Perfection is the state of samadhi, the state of oneness with God. What is evil? It is the absence of joy. How does evil creep into our lives? Here are some ways. I said forgetfulness. Forgetfulness. Another is, friends, when we get disturbed in our emotions. Yogas chitta vritti nirodh. The true picture, the state of yoga, the state of oneness, that memory, smriti, is revealed to us. It comes actually when we are calm, when we are not being tossed about. It's like trying to get a clear picture of something when your ship or your car is moving so much up and down. We just can't get a clear picture. As a surgeon, I can give this example. When I used to operate years ago on some very sensitive part of the body, the whole team almost would stop their breath, and once that incision was taken, then we would again go back in action, then something important would come. So this is important for our lives. What's the real picture? What is this perfection the yogis are talking about? So daily meditation, smriti, staying with those guru bhais who can inspire us, not falling into moods. Moods comes from past lives. Just yesterday somebody was asking me, and we've been friends for years, does the effect of past life show in this? I said, oh yes. Then I said to them, come more often to satsangs. This is a common teaching. As you live, what you're experiencing is because of past lives. Somebody asked Kriyanandaji, how much of my present life is affected by the past? He said, nearly all of it. Because it's like a journey we've made, decisions we've made, actions good and bad and neutral, and now we are trying to, again, like I said, clear that picture. Flotsam, Swami says. Flotsam is the debris of a shipwreck and such, which we see sometimes, and it mars the image of actually the, let's say, the beauty of the lake and such. But Swami says, look at it. It may look stationary for a moment, but it's actually going down. Similarly, our behavior. Don't be too hard on yourself. Yes, since we are seeking perfection in this life, don't be judgmental, but be firm. Tell yourself, if I'm not experiencing something, maybe it's time to read a book. Maybe it's time to go to that friend of mine, that Guru Bhai, who can inspire me, in whose company I don't think so much, but I just feel joy. I can serve over there. I remember, friends, one time I was very disturbed because of some question, and I sought an appointment with Swamiji. In a moment, literally in less than a minute, he clarified the doubt. He said, oh, I don't think so. And he asked me, what do you think? I said, sir, I am not sure. I felt the same. He said, oh, good. Within a minute, the problem was solved. My emotions were calm in his presence, by his answer. And then I thought, oh, what a short meeting in my mind I was thinking. And he said, I'm writing a book, but I forgot to write chapter numbers and arrange the papers. There they are on the stool. Will you please mark them? And he said, you sit in that room. I can continue over here. I said, yes, sir. And then I was marking them. And it was just such a simple seva. There was so much joy. There was so much joy. So you see, it's not about thinking. It was not about the problem which had brought me there. That was dissolved. That energy vortex was gone. So that is the beauty of having a satsang. Now, we can get in doubt. Of all people, our, teacher, Kriyanandaji, he said he was in doubts. Master said, you were eaten up with doubts. So one time he asked Yoganandaji, sir, can the soul be destroyed? Because somebody had told him that. And Swami was horrified at the prospect. And Master said, how can that be possible? The soul is a part of God. What is a soul? It's that aspect of God which is in you and me, in everybody, even the greatest evildoer. And Master said it can never be destroyed. It just has to be brought out. Your and my cooperation is required over there. First of all, we have to understand, like I was telling this friend yesterday, I said everything is dual. She was asking, why are some challenges coming to us in our family life, in our business? I said, success meets failure. Failures are later overcome by success. So I said, we have to understand this. Once we understand this, then the question arises, what kind of success do I really want? Of course, we should aspire to do whatever we do in the best way. So success in business, relationships is important. But friends, how long will that last? As long as you and I are alive and our faculties are intact. Towards the end of many people's lives, they forget the name of their children. They can't recognize sometimes anybody. If that is universally a fate of mankind, wise are they, commonsensically, who say, while my faculties are intact, I must define success in the proper way. And that success is to find everlasting joy. That is the reason the saints come. That is the hidden agenda, you might say, the game, the treasure in this life. And you and I have that. These are challenging times. There's turbulence outside, but we live in the world, we do our responsibility. But why was I showing you those two books, the Bhagavad Gita and the autobiography? Keep those two or any other book which helps you remember what really is the goal of life. Where are we moving? Because remember again, as you are digging that swimming pool, Master told the monks to dig, you will get tired. You may wonder for a while, why am I even doing this? Is this helping me? But like I said, don't apply the mind except when it is clarified, when the emotions are calm, and you will see that we are moving in that direction. Bit by bit, we attain that goal of perfection. So God bless you and have a nice week ahead. If you have had any questions, please write to us and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you for joining us this evening.